Hello everyone, in this video I'll write a query to find the missing sequential numbers from a table in Oracle SQL. So let's start. So we'll take one inverse table where we have the column like inverse number and inverse amount, and here the inverse numbers are sequential numbers starting from 100. So the inverse numbers are 100, 101, 102, 103 and so on. But here some numbers are missing and we have to find out those numbers using the SQL query. So basically we have to display the output like this, the missing invoice, and we can see that the missing invoice in this table are 102, 106 and 108. Now we'll write the query to find the missing invoices from the invoice table. So this is our inverse table, and where we have these two columns, inverse number and inverse amount. So we'll run this query. So we can see we have 8 rows with the inverse number and amount. Now here some invoices are missing and we have to find out those inverse number. So let's see the process how we can find out those inverse number. So first of all, we have to find out the inverse number of the next row for each row. So for that we'll use the lead function. So I'll write lead inverse number over, and we'll use the order by clause. We'll order by the inverse number in the ascending order. So we'll just write order by inverse number, and the inverse number will put the alias as current invoice, and this column I'll put the alias name as next invoice. So now we'll run this query. So now we can see in our output we are getting the current invoice and the invoice number of the next row. Like for first row current invoice is 100 and the next invoice is 101. For the second row you can see the current invoice 101 but the next invoice 103. So we can identify that here 102 is missing. Again, for the third row, the current invoice 103 and the next invoice 104. For fourth row, 104, 105. For fifth row, 105. It should be 106, but it is 107. That means 106 is missing. So, using the lead function, we can identify if the gap between this current row and the next row is greater than 1. That means that particular invoice is missing. So that is why we have to write the logic in the outer query that we have to pick up those rows where the gap between this current invoice and the next invoice is greater than 1. So I'll write select star from where the next invoice minus current invoice, this gap should be greater than 1. Now we'll run this query. So here we are getting 3 rows where the invoices numbers are missing. So for the first row you can see current invoice is 101, the next invoice should be 102, but as 102 is missing we are getting 103. For the second row current invoice 105 and the next row should be 106, but as 106 is missing we are getting 107. And similarly for the third row 108 is missing, that is why we are getting next invoice as 109. So now we have to find out these uh, missing invoices. So for that we'll simply put current invoice plus 1 instead of star, because here we can see the missing invoices are current invoice plus 1. So we'll write instead of star we can write current invoice plus 1. and then we run this query. So now we are getting the missing invoices 102, 106 and 108.